Hello and welcome. I'm Jennifer Shlomovich, and I specialize in helping busy women simplify plant based living so they can improve their health, save time, and feel supported, even if their family isn't on board. Here on my channel, you'll find insightful interviews with inspiring vegans and practical tips on a variety of plant based topics. Whether you're just starting out or looking to deepen your journey, my mission is to be your supportive resource and guide. Today, my special guest is Cecily Tinder, who I recently met when visiting her business, Electric Beets. Cecily grew up in Nebraska, ran her own interior design business in Colorado, and then pivoted into architecture and real estate strategy in New York City. A brutal family health history forced her to rethink everything, starting with her plate. A shift to plant based eating changed her life, and at 49, she launched Electric Beets to shake up the way the world sees healthy food, empowered by plants. Welcome, Cecily.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
It's so nice to have you here. So, yeah, we
Yeah.
connected a couple months ago. I was visiting Brooklyn, where I used to live, and discovered your business, Electric Beets. And it's so funny how the universe works because I was in the coffee shop next door, and
Mhm.
sometimes they have vegan treats, and I didn't see any. And I mentioned to my husband, I was like, "Oh, it doesn't look like they have anything vegan there." And then someone in line turned to me and was like, "Have you been to Electric Beets next door?" And I'm like, "No, what's that?" Because not living in Brooklyn for a couple of years, I kind of like
Yeah.
lost track of things. And so I popped over and saw your amazing business, and that's where we met and had a great conversation. And I'm
Yeah.
just had to have you on here. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm really glad that whoever that was in line referred you over.
Yeah, I don't know who it was either. It was just some random but that's how the universe works, right?
It is an amazing community. We've been very fortunate to have a really loyal fan base as we've been growing. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, that's great. And you're doing such amazing things in the community too, which we'll talk about more in
Thank
our
you.
discussion. But can you share a little bit more about your journey to whole food plant-based eating?
Yes, of course. As you said in the intro, I grew up in Nebraska and was raised in a really traditional household. My mother actually was trained as a nurse, and so we always had very balanced meals. Um, but I was raised to be drinking 3 glasses of milk a day so that I wouldn't wither away from osteoporosis, or so we thought at the time. And little did I know I actually had a dairy allergy, and I never liked milk for some reason, but um, I wasn't able to articulate early on why I didn't like it, other than the fact that I was having digestive issues, but we didn't really talk about that as a family.
Mhm.
And so it never really registered in my brain as being a problem because I knew it was a requirement. Um, the thing that really put me over the edge was about in my 30s. I did figure out that dairy was very specifically linked to my digestive issues, and but the bigger shift to whole food plant based was um, I I was losing a lot of muscle mass, and I decided that I was going to I needed to start really focusing on lifting weights and just really being focused on maintaining good balance and all of that. So I started working with a trainer when I had moved to New York City, and he suggested to me, "Hey, have you ever considered plant-based eating?" And I said, um, no, not really. Um, I said, I know I have a thing with dairy, but I'm sort of on again, off again of eating that because that's just the way I was at the time. And he said, just try it for 30 days. Just as a little experiment, just try it and see how it goes. And so I'm one of those people that's on board for any sort of challenge. And so I picked it up for 30 days, and literally by day 5, I was feeling so incredibly energetic, and my digestion had immediately cleared up because I wasn't eating just little bits of cheese. I was eating no dairy at
Mhm.
all. Meat wasn't really a difficult thing for me to give up. In that moment, it wasn't really challenging at all. And so 5 days in, I was like, this is my new way of being. And it just made sense to me. And coupled with that, also my family has a really terrible health history. And my father would take two handfuls of pills every day,
Mm.
high blood pressure, high triglycerides, high cholesterol. He had a heart condition. He had strokes. He had dementia, all sorts of issues. And most all of them were associated with food. And so I knew in my family health history that we had issues. And so I was always looking on the lookout for something to do that would help me to, avoid that sort of path. And when I found whole food plant-based eating, it just clicked. There was something that just absolutely resonated with me, and I felt so monumentally better. It just made sense.
I relate so much to your story because I have skin issues and rosacea and eczema, and I was having like a bad flare up. This is like
Mm,
back in 2015, well, 2014-ish, end of 2014, and I was like researching different things. And then it was like 2015, I decided to do an experiment and give up dairy for 30 days like you did.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
realized I felt better in ways I didn't even imagine I would feel better. And like like my sinuses were better. I because I used to have like a lot of like phlegm and sinus issues, not to be gross, but like everyone have
Yeah.
spoken to uh who has given up dairy, they all feel better.
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
which I think is a big sign that we shouldn't be having it, right?
Right. Right.
And so that caught my attention. And during that 30 days, I was looking up different dairy free recipes. So a lot of vegan recipes came up.
Yeah.
And I discovered Forks Over Knives, which is whole food plant based, which anyone who's not familiar with what whole food plant based is, it's unprocessed food. You don't use oils, and you don't you obviously it's all plant-based, plant-based proteins and vegetables, and it's just reducing all those things, minimizing salt, and just all the things that are not good for us, right? And so
Hmm.
finding a way to minimize that uh, can really have a positive impact in our lives. And so I discovered these foods that weren't boring at all. In fact, it was more exciting than the food I was already making that wasn't vegan. Um,
Hmm.
and I discovered all these like spices and just all these like different cultural foods that were just really flavorful. And I started just getting cookbooks and trying recipes. And for me, and what really was important to me also was my health, because I
Hmm.
lost my mom to a heart attack almost
Hmm.
17 years ago. And my dad also had cardiovascular issues and diabetes. And when you see your parents going through these things, it's kind of like a sneak
Yeah.
preview of what you could go through if you don't start taking action now.
Right.
And eventually and again, like you said, the whole food plant-based way of eating made sense to me. It's like a way you can eat healthy without feeling deprived.
Right.
There's a lot of misconceptions about eating plant-based, and
Hmm.
it's not boring food, especially the food in your shop, not boring food at
That
all,
was the
right? Like it's
goal.
a great
Yeah.
example of showing what is possible eating plants. And
Hmm.
so it started off for the health stuff, and then it gradually, it took me a couple years to fully commit, and then I went completely vegan, where I eliminated all animal products in my life,
Hmm.
and that took time to get there, uh as well. And that's the mission with my business. I'm the only vegan in my family, And I want to help support women, whether they want to be vegan or not, but just improve their health by eating more plants, whatever that looks like for them. And that can change and evolve. It did for me as well. And that's why I love having guests like you on to show people what is possible and just the positive impacts that that can have on our bodies.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I really like to refer to plant-based eating is not, it's not a, for me, and I believe it can be, it's a, for everyone, um, it's a way of life. It's not a diet. And I think, I was raised in a diet culture
Hmm.
of everybody constantly trying all these different things, but it was always a short-term
Yeah.
fix or a short-term solution. And then I think that's what resonated with me so much about trying this. It just there was an instant impact. And I think if anyone who's listening to your podcast, it's just something that you will feel very, very, very quickly. And it's a really incredible there's some really cool documentaries out there, Game Changers, some different things that'll show the rapid impact that
Hmm.
this way of eating can have on your body. And even if it's something where you're dipping in and out of it, it's something that has a drastic impact. And so even if you're a meatless Monday person or just maybe two meals a day that don't have meat, it does make and dairy, it does have a drastic impact. And so it's really cool. I don't like to draw really hard lines. I think I'm unique in the fact that it just made so much sense to me and I stopped eating those things. But it's definitely a personal journey. And it's one of the things I love about my shop is I have lots of people coming in who aren't strictly vegan and vegetarian, and we meet people where they are on their journey and celebrate wherever that is.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and that's what it is, right? And it all has an impact. Like I used to be that person, right?
Mhm.
Dabbling with it here and there, trying
Yeah.
it here and there. And then if I went back to my old way of eating, I noticed even more
Yep.
of just how, like, sometimes we don't realize how bad the food is making us feel because that's what we've
Yeah.
always known
Yep.
until we stop. And, just eating plant-based for a couple of days, you can start feeling a shift in your digestion, inflammation, all these different things.
Yeah.
And then when you go back to the old way of eating, it's like, ugh, like,
Yeah. It's seriously a light bulb moment. It's really kind of cool. It's like, oh, hmm. And yeah, and hopefully I think being in tune with your body, it makes sense to say, that actually felt good and I want to go there again.
yeah, and you're right. It is not a diet because, we're not that much different in age. And, yeah, I remember all the different fad diets, South Beach diet, and all the other ones that I can't think of right now. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
but, all those trendy diets. And I've
There's
tried
a
a
lot.
couple of them and I didn't last more than a month on any of them.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you feel deprived and frustrated because you know what? I would have quick weight loss and then I would just hit a plateau and I was miserable with what I'm eating. But if
Hmm.
you're enjoying what you're eating and you're just taking
Yes.
care of your body and you're just doing the things that you need to do to take care of your body, and
Yep.
and then you're gonna have that impact. Maybe you're not gonna drop 10 pounds in 2 weeks, but you're not gonna gain, 15 back as
Right.
soon as you
Right.
stop that diet, right? Because it
Yep.
is a way of life, and you start becoming more mindful
Hmm.
about what you're putting in your body. And
Hmm.
so it definitely does change your mindset about how you eat in a much more sustainable way, for sure.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
what are some of the benefits that you've experienced when switching to plant-based?
Hmm. Um, so as I said, and I'm going to tell this story with the caveat that I know somebody is, if they're considering, um, maybe they'll relate to this,
Hmm.
changing to this way of eating. Um, my sister and I uh, shared the same dairy intolerance. And my family used to refer to it as kind of a joke. And hopefully this isn't too graphic, but we would go out to dinner and we would have some sort of appetizer that was had cheese or
Hmm.
dairy incorporated into it. And the rapidity with which dairy hit us was instantaneous. And I know it's very difficult to I'm sure some people are like, that's impossible. That can't hit you that quickly. But
For
it
some people, it can.
it can, yeah. And so we would signal each other that we would say we had a code that was Uncle Ed, which was explosive diarrhea, was going to be happening, and that we needed to leave the restaurant or we needed to locate the nearest bathroom as quickly as possible. And it got to the point where it was just so uncomfortable. And but we knew we didn't at that time we didn't associate it with dairy. There's so many different things that I think through time that MSG, everybody was like, oh, it's the additives in the food, or it's you have an intolerance to this or an intolerance to that. And flat out, it was dairy. And it was when I eliminated dairy from my diet, the explosive diarrhea stopped. And the constant digestive, the constipation, then the diarrhea, then it was just I also have rosacea that significantly improved,
Hmm.
and my skin significantly improved after I stopped eating dairy. Um, I mean, it was just the energy level that occurred from changing to eating this way was incredible. I'm a runner. I really benefit from getting out and running, and just tremendous asset for my mental health. And I was a little bit worried, honestly, when I switched to eating plant-based. I thought, okay, how can I do this in an effective way? And absolutely, I had more energy than I did previously on a plant-based diet. It took a little bit of making sure that I was eating a correct, proper, balanced diet.
Hmm.
And the beauty of transitioning to eating this way was I was actually paying attention to what I was eating.
Yeah.
Before, I don't really think that I was eating consciously. And I had so many people sending up these warning flares about, oh, somebody I knew switched to eating vegan and something bad happened. And I think if all of us paid as much attention to what we were eating, no matter what kind of lifestyle we follow, we would all be better off. Um, but it's plant-based in particular, I was hypersensitive um, to making sure that I was getting a balanced meal, and really figuring out nutritionally what I needed throughout the day. And the result was just absolutely amazing. The energy just spiked. I've never really had an issue with sleep, so I didn't personally notice any difference with that. I know a lot of people have sleep issues. I do know that my partner, he has experienced an incredible amount, a shift in his ability to sleep better. So for him, that has made an incredible difference. But for me, the biggest issues were digestively and meat. I've fortunately, knock on wood, never had any issues with cholesterol personally. Um, and so completely removing that from my diet also, I think, has just helped to keep me on the right path as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to some of those shifts that you shared. And for me, I noticed that meat impacted my digestion as I started eating more plant-based and paying, like what you were saying, I became more conscious about what I was eating. And, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions out there that being vegan means you're going to be malnourished. And on my morning show, that vegan morning show that I do with Kimberly Winters, a couple weeks ago, we talked about that 2 or 3 weeks ago from the time that we were recording this interview now. Um, they we did an interview, we did had a discussion about this, like some celebrities saying, they almost died going vegan, but meanwhile they ate like just spinach. Like there was an interview with Cyndi Lauper talking about how she just ate spinach.
Yeah,
And so and that's the stuff that's pushing the wrong narratives about it, right? Like
right, right.
and like you said before, right? You can be healthy or unhealthy non-vegan,
No matter how
and
you eat. Yeah,
right, no matter how you eat. And so um and when and then being plant-based is, being it's really the best way of eating. And people who do have food sensitivities, who might have certain allergies or it might restrict certain things, there's still ways that it can be done. You might have to connect with a nutritionist or, look into these things. Um, but there is a way to adjust and adapt it for anyone, and I would say for most cases. But
absolutely.
yeah, it's like finding that right balance for you, and it can take time. Like I think any sustainable change takes time. Like it took me a couple years to like fully commit. Um, and then when I want, and then else, like I go by the 80/20 rule. Like if I want, I'm not going to completely cut out, I think that's another thing people think too. Oh my God, I can't have
Hmm. Yeah,
any treats. Yeah, I will have my treats. There's a lot of great vegan ice cream out there now.
yep, yep, yep.
And other things that, or especially in New York City, there's so many vegan restaurants to go to that, yeah, you can enjoy yourself, maybe have your treats, and but then you can go back to eating healthy. And it's just finding the right balance for you personally, right? Everyone's on their own
Yeah,
personal journey with food, and so, and it can
definitely.
take time. So yeah, I relate to so much of what you share with this. And
Yeah.
can you share a little bit more about your business, Electric Beets, and what inspired you to create it?
Yeah, absolutely. So exactly what you were just saying. As I was starting on this journey, I was looking for assistance. I was looking for how do I do this? How do I figure out how to eat like this? Because I love to eat and I really appreciate food and I appreciate good food. And I started off probably very similarly to how most people start on their plant-based journey. I started off with making a bunch of bowls for myself, rice
Mhm.
and quinoa and, you know, tofu, what I thought was the way to prepare tofu at the time, and vegetables and I was trying to eat, just nothing but salads and, try to figure out add beans to them. And after a while, I was like, this is getting kind of boring and I don't want to eat bowls for the rest of my life. I knew I needed some combination of grains and legumes and of course vegetables and leafy greens. And it was getting monotonous. And I thought, I will not be able to stick with this if I don't have something that's going to keep me here. And so I started doing a ton of research. I started getting a lot of just looking for different recipes online, figuring out different ways to go about things. But then additionally, I started going to grocery stores and I said, I really want to have vegan yogurt. And so I started collecting all of these the smallest little vegan yogurt samples that I could find that were just so I could try a bunch of different things.
Mhm.
And it was amazing to me how definitely there are a lot more selections than there were before, and there are more and more that are coming on the market every day. But to find one that was actually really, really, really good was
Mhm.
challenging. And I felt like, oh, this is really watery, this is slimy, this is, but there were some good options. But then I thought, well, wait a minute. oh, I just saw a recipe for this. Why don't I try making it? And so I started making things for myself. I started rather than buying vegan cheese, which is predominantly oil
Mhm.
at the supermarket. I said, well, somebody's making this. Why not try to figure out a recipe that, I can make it myself and try it? Night and day difference. It was absolutely
Mm.
amazing the difference between making your own homemade vegan yogurt, making your own homemade vegan cheeses. And it was, oh, just heaven, absolute heaven. But it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, sure
And
does.
it's incredibly time consuming while really, really, really enjoyable. It's like, what in the heck is agar agar? And what is, what are all these different ingredients and where in the heck do you get these things from?
Hmm.
And by the time you order them or you find them or you source them, it's like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. It's just so much easier to go and buy something at the store that's mediocre as opposed to, you know, gathering all these different ingredients in my house and oh my gosh, I know had no idea that you could use an instant pot that way and this way and I was collecting all of these tools and ingredients and it was just a lot of overwhelming things happening in the kitchen. And I said, I just want a place where I can go and pick up food that tastes like that. And I don't really want to have to work at it very much. And it would just be super easy if every once in a while I could just be let off the hook for cooking. And
Hmm.
so Electric Beets was born out of that. I wanted to create a place that people could come and eat a meal and snacks any time of the day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, anything in between, and feel as if they had made it themselves. And that the conscious approach to eating, the minimal oil, the no refined sugar, the no preservatives, the minimal sodium was thought about. And just to be able to have zero guilt associated with eating that type of food and just give yourself a break from cooking every once in a while because this would be the type of food that you would cook for yourself at home,
Yeah.
but you don't necessarily have to go to that extreme effort.
That's a great story. Isn't it interesting how we create something because it was something we want or need
Hmm.
to have?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's amazing. And yeah, I when I discovered your store, we had just eaten lunch and we were just looking for a dessert, so we grabbed a cookie, but I saw there was like beautiful wraps and just soups and all kinds of great things that
yeah.
I look forward to trying in the future the next time I'm in that part of Brooklyn in Park Slope.
Yeah,
So yeah, so I'm looking forward to trying, but it looked beautifully done. And I was like, why couldn't this been here when I was living in Brooklyn?
yeah. I mean, the whole goal was I basically took all the foods that I love to eat, and the whole concept, by the way, for those who haven't been there yet, it's a grab and go,
Hmm.
and so it is prepared food, ready to eat. The beautiful thing about plant-based food is that when you create plant-based food, it lasts longer. It has just a really wonderful longevity. The thing that happens over time with plant-based food, if you put it in your refrigerator, the degradation of the food happens because water is evaporating. That's the food isn't necessarily going to go bad. Like if you put dairy in the refrigerator, if you put meat in the refrigerator, you have a certain time that you really should eat it by. The time there are Best by dates, it's mainly for flavor with plant-based food. You are looking to eat something so that you're getting the best experience. And you don't want to eat anything that's an older anything that's not an enjoyable experience. But the beauty is that we have a lot of people who come into our shop and they buy things for the week and they can have lunches for the entire week after doing one shopping trip.
That's great.
Or yeah, and or you can pick up some mushroom sausage and you can add it to your pasta sauce, or you can pick up beet burgers and you can chop them up and turn them into tacos. So we're trying to either be a complete meal for people if they want to just pick up something like lunch, a hot soup and a wrap, or you could pick up parts and pieces. So like breakfast tofu, maple kiss tofu, and you can add it to something that you're making at home, and you can just take that one step out of your preparation process.
That's amazing. You know what? I'm gonna have to bring my cooler with me next time I come just to stock up on those things. Because yeah, those things can be hard to find. And
Hmm.
then if you go to a store that does offer them, a lot of it's very processed, like
Yep,
heavy on the sodium, heavy on the oils, and it's not really good for you. And that's
right,
where sometimes veganism can get a bad rap because people think it's all processed food. Well, no,
right.
again, just like a non-vegan diet, you can eat as healthy or as unhealthy as you want on
Yes.
either side of the coin there. Um, but yeah, so that's great that there's a lot of flexibility where people because there's you can find a lot of vegan restaurants and
Hmm.
places, but it's very hard to find a place like that where you can grab and go a meal. What if you're traveling somewhere and you just want
Yep.
something for later? It's great for a picnic, right? You're not too far from Prospect Park, so
Right.
you can
Exactly.
stop by and get grab a picnic there too.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's really great that you have all that flexibility. And also too, like it's nice, it's like you were saying for meal prep, because a lot of times you have these very expensive meal subscriptions,
Hmm.
and a lot of them are high in sodium too. Like I've
Yeah.
looked at there's a vegan one, popular vegan one, and I was interested in trying it, but when I saw the sodium content in it, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, so that's
It's
great.
interesting, yeah, because I think one of the things that our customers really appreciate, and it was literally the entire reason offering healthy food. We list all of our ingredients on everything. Our labels have the major macros at the top of the label, and then we have a QR code on every single label, which you can scan for full nutrition. We have so
Wow.
many clients that are coming in that are dealing with health issues, that have sensitivities to certain foods, and just the transparency. That's what's really cool about feeling as though you know exactly what is in the food. And it's actually really, really scary because unless you are a business that has over 18 locations, you're not required by the federal government to list transparently
Oh, wow.
your ingredients in your restaurant. And so we've chosen to do that because we that's what we're selling. We're selling transparency. We want people to know and understand what you're putting into your body, and sodium and sugar and fat, oils, it those are all things that, yeah, they make food taste good if you use them in excess. They can make food taste good, but you can also use things like herbs and spices and less of those things and still achieve a very similar effect. Sodium in particular is such a hot button with restaurants because it is a default way to make things taste good. Um, but it's scary how much sodium is used, and we always talk about you can always add salt to something, you can't take it away if it's already been added.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the flexibility and transparency that you're offering your customers because yeah, you legally you don't have to do it, but you're still doing that.
Yeah,
And and so that helps people know that they can trust you for their needs because there are a lot of people who don't eat out and they feel restricted because of health reasons, but they know, oh, I can stop by Electric Beets and pick up something that's going to be better for me and
yeah,
support my health goals. So that's really
definitely.
great that you provide all of that. And what are some other ways that Electric Beets has brought people together in the community?
um I mean, we have a really vibrant Park Slope is an amazing neighborhood. And, a lot of people have a lot of topics that they're interested in discussing. A lot of people are coming in and saying, well, I have this ailment, or I have this thing, this life stage that I'm going through, or I have, my kid has they're the only kid with this allergy at school, and I want to make sure that they're feeling comfortable around the other kids. And so it's they're celebrating a birthday next week, and I want to make sure that they have a treat too, and I want to make sure that they're not ostracized because of X, Y, and Z. And it's just it's a cool way to be able to make people, find a way to sort of level set everything.
Hmm.
And yeah, of course, we have something for that. Absolutely, we can offer something for each of those solutions. I do want to say, we're not nutritionists, but there's something about when you are eating a certain way and people are responding in a very positive, feeling healthier about eating food, you come together as a community. And so it inspires different conversations to be happening. Like, I'm personally going through perimenopause right now, so I
Same.
have a group of women that are coming in that are like sweating like crazy, or hormones, or cramping, or all the various things. So we've had a few different groups in the past that have gotten together to have discussions about certain topics. We've participated in Green and Healthy Night down at the PS 321, where we've gone and participated in using our compostable containers and providing hummus and carrot dippers for the school kids to try down, and their
Aw.
parents to try down there. And there's just so many cool ways that you can, if people are keeping an open mind and willing to try different things. There are lots of really fun activities that you can participate in that really draw people together, and it's fun to have all of that as a really, really cool community.
Yeah, you're doing really great work there because it's by creating a spot like that, it's inclusive for everyone, no matter what their
Mhm.
eating requirements are. And a family where maybe one person's vegan or one person's
Yeah,
healthy and other people are not, they can all get food from Electric Beets and still enjoy it all together. Because sometimes
right.
people have to get food from one place, and to meet all everyone's needs. And it sounds like it's a one-stop shop for whatever anyone is looking for.
We do have a lot of people who come in who say, I need to pick up dinner for my girlfriend who's vegan, and I will gently challenge them and say, well, what are you going to eat? And wouldn't it be cool if you could eat together and eat the same thing? And so we've had some fun discussions about, trying things, and we try to let people sample. The soup is always available to sample, and we try anytime we can to make it accessible for people to try. And we have things in portions, so it's not smaller portions, so it's not going to be a huge investment to be able to try something. We have a really fantastic lasagna, and we have it
Mm.
by the slice, but we also have it by the tray. So people are looking, they're like, oh my gosh, I have people coming over. We have a completely cooked lasagna that you can pop in the oven for 45 minutes, and it'll be, all you're doing is heating it up. And both omnivores and vegetarians and vegans really, really love this lasagna. And we've a couple people have said, I really don't want to tell people that this is vegan. I'm like, well, yeah, I understand. I know how that goes. And it's sometimes it can be such a point of contention
Mhm.
with having people come in and say, well, I need to buy dinner for these people over here and then these people over here. And it feels like there's already a barrier that has been set up. And so we're hoping to bridge that gap, really. And I would say, about 75% of our clients are not vegan and vegetarian. They are purely customers that are looking for a healthy alternative. And it just happens to be vegan.
Mhm.
And we're not setting out to, drill that. drill that in. It's we want to offer good food and we know that it'll make people feel good, and that's the reason why they're coming back. It's a really cool demographic to have coming in because people like come in. I'm craving the breakfast burrito. I haven't had it for a couple days and I'm craving it. And fun little fact, I didn't I don't know why I didn't put two and two together, but did you know that in your gut is so amazing. Your gut is actually the detector. It's the thing that creates serotonin alerts in your brain. And I wasn't thinking about this, but when you eat something that is good for you, your brain is going to find out about it, and it's going to set into motion. That was really good. I really like that. That was good for me. I da, 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 da. Similarly to how when you eat sugar,
Hmm.
it is also setting off, fireworks or, different things like that. Much shorter lived, much more, not such a positive reaction, but it's a really, really cool thing when people come in and tell us that they're craving our food. We really like that a lot.
That's great. You're like you said, you're bridging that gap. You're showing people what's possible by eating plants. It's not boring. It doesn't have to be restrictive, and there
Right,
doesn't have to be a barrier, right? Like
right,
people who are
right.
omnivores also eat plants, but
Yeah, yep,
right?
yep,
They'll eat a salad, but they can eat plants beyond the salad. They can have an amazing breakfast burrito or a really delicious
yep,
lasagna. And I'm sure that lasagna is a million times healthier than the lasagna you're going to get, from the freezer section of your grocery store or from a
yep.
restaurant that's very heavy with sodium and heavy with the oils and all of that
Oils,
stuff.
yep,
So you know that you can entertain your guests, have something delicious, and also much more healthier for your body as well. So
definitely,
sounds so
definitely.
great. I can't wait to visit your store again. Before we wrap up, are there any resources you would like to share, any inspirational resources that have helped you on your journey that could be helpful? Could be a book or a podcast or something.
Yeah. When I first started out, I needed a consistent way to get going, and so I actually found a website. It was a recipe subscription service that I used, and it's called Clean Food Dirty Girl,
Oh.
and it was a really fun way to learn how to batch cook,
Mm-hmm.
and so that you're not constantly preparing things all the time. And so that really helped me get into a routine of cooking. And if you're not spending a ton of time in the kitchen currently, it's something that it helps you to adapt and helps you to they have a lot of tools and tricks and videos and different things on there to teach you how to do things. So if you aren't super familiar with the kitchen, which I I thought I was familiar with the kitchen, but there are a lot of different ways of doing things faster, doing things more easily,
Mm-hmm.
and so just having a really open mind about those sorts of things. Um, so that was one resource that I found extremely helpful. Um, the other was realizing that recipes are a guide. Just because somebody has written a recipe book doesn't mean that it's a healthy option. Um, People are writing recipes and they are creating these different things to be delicious food. And a lot of chefs and different people will have recipe books. But you can always change recipes if you like the nature of the idea of a recipe. Just remember that you can always alter different things. You can alter salt content, you can alter oil content, you
Mm-hmm.
can come up with substitutions. That's what I think is such a fascinating of plant-based eating is figure out a way to do something a little bit differently that works just as well, but is not the thing. So I think it becomes a little bit of a challenge. And so just be open to research, be open to trying things, be open to using a flax egg and using, different sorts of flours and play and practice and have fun with it because I made a lot of crappy food to start. But it was all fun. It's
Yeah.
very engaging and interesting. So don't be afraid to fail when you're starting out and trying this way and put together simple combinations. And I learned to what are my quick go-tos? What can I make really fast so that I don't get hangry?
Yeah.
And what can I do so that I keep on this path that I've chosen that makes me feel really good? And so I came up with my quick subset of things, and then I kept on working to develop other things that were more interesting, more of what I wanted to eat more regularly. That maybe took a little bit more time, but also, oh, hey, I can freeze this, or I
Mhm.
can make this last a lot longer. So there's all sorts of really cool things that you can do.
That's all great. I never heard of Clean Food Dirty Girl, so I'll go check that
Yeah.
out. That sounds like a good
Yeah.
resource.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. Recipes are just a guideline. I have a tomato sensitivity, so
Oh,
I got tested. It's not an allergy, but I'll like break out in a rash. I'll get like a strange sensation in my throat. So
yeah.
I made a beet substitute where I'll make beet ketchup or I'll make a marinara sauce with beets
Nice.
and it's works out just as well. And then I discovered there's a lot of people out there who can't have tomatoes because it's too acidic for
Nightshades.
them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
or nightshades. And so
Yep.
I've shared that recipe with people sometimes. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
so there's always a way. You don't have to miss out on eating good food. There's
Exactly.
always a way to eat it. And if you want to eat healthier, you don't have to be deprived. There's a way to do
Right.
it. And if they're in
There is.
Brooklyn, they should stop by Electric Beets and try it out.
We would be, and yeah, and if you do have a sensitivity, it's amazing. Yeah, we really are heavily focused on there's hopefully something that everyone can eat there.
Great.
Yeah.
Amazing. I can't wait to go back. Cecily, it was
Yay.
so nice having you here. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
So we are located currently at 158 7th Avenue in Park Slope, Brooklyn. And we're at the cross streets of 7th Avenue and Garfield Place. We're right next to Hungry Ghost Coffee Shop. And
That's where I
we would,
was.
yeah, yeah. And we're open 7 days a week. We're open from 7:30 in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, and 7 days a week. And literally breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. We would love for you to stop in and give us a try, and appreciate everyone's business very much.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and you're not far from Prospect Park, so great place to
Yep,
grab picnic food too.
exactly. Oh, I forgot to mention we're online as well. It's electricbeets.com. And another way to check out our what we are offering remotely.
I'll also include the link to your website in the notes below
Cool.
this video, so this way people can find it easily. Well, Cecily, it
Thank
was
you.
so great having you here. Thanks for having this great conversation with me. I look forward to going back and trying more food. Next
Thanks,
time I'll go
Jennifer.
there for a lunch and instead of
Oh, we'd
dessert.
love that.
And
Cool.
thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.